Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit Shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
Ew. What does this do?
What?
What does this do?
It extracts vital organs to replenish its own mutating cells.
Wow. What does this one do?
It elongates its mouth to engulf its victim's head with its incisors.
Ouch. Wait, what does this one do?
It asks endless questions of those with whom it's supposed to be working so that nothing is getting done.
Boy, there's a demon for everything.
Welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Buffy. We're just two boys watching every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer for the first time ever, giving our review, giving our thoughts, giving our reaction. We're your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 18, titled Killed by Death. Directed by Darren Serafian? I don't know. Written by Rob Days Hotel and Dean Batali. Original air date March 3rd, 1998 to an audience of 6.08 million people. This audience is dropping off here, Vance.
I think around like 6.8 is probably where it levels out. Until maybe later seasons, it might have a big boon. Or some big, Buffy prom might be a big one.
Oh. Yeah. There's a prom episode.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course there's going to be a prom episode.
There has to be. Well, we had that May fling, spring fling.
Oh, yeah, but prom's at the end. Yeah.
So the last two episodes, me and Vance really loved. This one was kind of a letdown for me. I don't know about you, Vance. I was riding the high of the last two, and I was like, oh, it's just going to keep going. And then this one, I was kind of like, yeah, okay.
This, it's interesting because I watched this episode minutes before we got on. I just finished it. And I was thinking about it, and when it started, it was doing stuff that I was like, I don't really like. It's a personal thing that I don't like, that when shows do the really artsy, is this happening, dreamscape, fantasy stuff. Yes. But then I realized they didn't stick with it.
No.
And it didn't make me happier that they didn't stick with it, which is like the irony of that. Like, I think they should have pushed that even further, thinking about it afterwards.
Okay, yeah. I mean, there were confusing times.
Yeah, it starts out and you're like, okay, this is going to be one of those weird ones. What's happening? And then you're like, nah, it's not. And then, and then it's kind of straightforward.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah. And there's a lot of like trippy, like, is it a dream? Is it a flashback? Is it a memory? Yeah. Is it happening now?
But they already answer that like real early. And then it's just like, when they bring up, is it real again? You're like, why are you asking? I wrote that. I was like, why are you doubting yourself now? Like,
yeah. All right, let's get into the episode then.
I did want to say that depending on how long we go, I might have a couple little bonus questions and stuff for you if we get to it. We'll see. We'll see.
For me specifically, or from
a little segment that we can do that you don't know what's coming. So
okay, all right, I'm down for that little surprise segment.
Yeah, impromptu segment.
Hey, I've done improv before. Oh yes, and you, Vance. All right, let's get into the episode. So it opens up with a little recap about like what's up with Angel recently. And then the episode actually opens up with Buffy climbing over a graveyard wall And she falls over and she's stumbling around and you're like, I don't know what's really happening here. And she's got a stake out and she hears like some rustling going on around this huge tombstone. So she can't see who's on the other side. And she pulls out her stake like she's going to stab him. And it's actually Xander, Willow, and Cordelia. And Xander has this great line where Buffy's about to stab him. And he goes, oh my God, my life flashed before my eyes. I really need to get a life.
There's actually some pretty good lines and some cheesy lines in this, but there's some good lines in this one. Yeah.
Yeah. But then it's revealed that the reason why Xander, Willow, and Cordelia are skulking around the graveyard is because Buffy actually has the flu and she's sick and she should actually be at home. And they're all arguing and Buffy's like, well, if I'm not out here, you know, people might die. And then the gang is like, well, we're out here, and they have crosses and stakes and stuff.
They really are the Scooby Gang in this one.
Yeah.
When they come out. Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, somewhere, somebody mentions like, well, if you weren't here, you know, Angel might be killing somebody and we can't have him kill any more people. And then Angel shows up and he goes, oh, come on. Let me get at least one more.
Did you think this was a dream?
Yeah, I thought something was up here because
this whole we'll go into this opening scene, but it didn't feel real at all.
Yeah, like people were acting very weirdly. Like I know that Buffy has the flu.
Yeah.
But then Angel just shows up out of nowhere, like from behind Buffy, and nobody sees him show up from behind Buffy.
I've been saying this for episodes. People sneak up on Buffy and people in the graveyard so easily all the time. And even when he was regular nice Angel, he would sneak up on her.
Yeah.
And I was always like, Buffy, if he can sneak up on you, you are not safe out here by yourself.
Yeah, dude. So he sneaks up on her. He goes and he lunges at, I think it's Cordelia.
Yeah, he's like, oh, let me get one more. And he tackles Cordelia, who I thought had a giant cross in her hand.
She did. You're absolutely right, Vance.
Which seemed to do they were okay. So they were arguing that, hey, Buffy's like, hey, I need to be out here because Angel could hurt someone. They're like, you can't fight him if you're sick, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, you don't stand a chance against them sick. And then I'm thinking to myself, how do you three stand a chance?
Yeah.
Like, she's a sick slayer, which has to be better than 3 average high schoolers.
Yeah, I mean, they're not even in like peak physical condition or anything either, you know?
And it's just like, what? Why? Go home. Just go home.
Just let him kill.
Let him he's killing people anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody had like crosses, stakes, and everything. Yeah. But he lunges at Cordelia, tackles her on the ground, and then Buffy pulls him off of her. Mm-hmm. So Buffy pulls him off from behind. Mm-hmm. And this moment pissed me off so much because Buffy now is resolute in her decision that she needs to kill Angel. Mm-hmm. Everybody's resolute in that decision. Mm-hmm. Everything from this moment forward pissed me off.
Yep.
So Buffy comes from behind and pulls Angel off of Cordelia, very similarly to how Xander stabbed that vampire in the back like 2 episodes ago that lunged on at the funeral home with Buffy. Buffy could have stabbed him in the back just then, just like Xander did.
3 people could have stabbed him when he was on top of Cordelia.
Exactly. But instead, Buffy pulls him off of Cordelia, and then they have like an extended fight scene where everybody else that was there seems to have just disappeared.
He's beating the shit out of Buffy, and no one's stepping in.
Yeah, no one's helping.
They were just talking about how she's sick and weak. It wasn't one of those moments like, hey, let her do this. This is her fight. It was one of those like, oh, you're too sick to fight him. Oh, we'll just watch you fight.
Yeah. Like nobody even like crept around a corner to like show him the cross or anything. Like nothing.
There's not like a shot where like they come in and he just backslaps Willow and she flies across and then Xander goes to help her while she's down on the ground. Like none of that normal stuff they do. It's just, that's why I was like, is this a dream?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was just like, this is, and the fight scene is way too long for no one to try to help.
Also,
like, you don't even see him in the background at all. Like, you don't see him like cowering or anything. Like, they're just gone.
And Angel, we've seen, has good plans. What is this? Just show up?
Yeah.
Just for the comedic timing of like when they called his name and he just appeared. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why is he doing this?
So after what seems like, I'll say like 3 to 4 minutes of Buffy and Angel fighting.
Yeah.
He gets on top of Buffy and he's like, oh, I'm going to kill you now. And then you see Xander like slowly creep behind him. And I was like, oh, this is where Xander's going to stab him in the back like he did with that last vampire. But no, he puts a bag over Angel's head. Like he's taking him hostage. They pull him off of Buffy.
Yeah.
And then they all just scatter away from him and then start pointing the crosses at him, which have no effect on him while he's got the bag on his head.
I always think about this. Buffy has a cross on her neck that he gave her. And it never stops him from getting close to her.
Well, she doesn't wear that one anymore, but she does always wear a cross on her neck.
Yeah.
Because now it's like a pearl one.
Yeah.
But it never stops him. Like, how big does the cross need to be? Like, this is the cross. But like, he's struggling with this bag and he's like writhing on the floor. And they're all like pointing the crosses at him. And then he takes the bag off and he sees the crosses like, oh, I guess we're going to have to finish this another time. And then just walks away.
Yeah. And I thought it would be better if like Xander came to stab him with a spike. And then like you got that quick cut where Angel's hand stops him from stabbing him. You know? It's like, not today or something like that. It's just anything that seems realistic.
Yeah. Or like he goes to stab him, and then right as he's about to stab him, he takes the bag off, and then Xander's scared.
But I'm saying even before you put the bag over him, like, what are you doing? Where did that bag come from?
Oh, right. Yeah, right?
What
was their plan? Yeah, what was their plan with the bag?
We bag him and stab him. That's their plan.
So yeah, Angel just leaves. Nobody chases after him.
Well, Buffy's sick.
Well, yeah, of course she can. And we know that she can't chase after him because she immediately passes out after this is all over. And then it was like, Buffy!
And the music is so somber.
Yeah.
You would have thought she died or something. The music that they're playing throughout the next scene is the saddest music I've ever, the saddest TV music.
So then I think this is where the intro song happens, but then the gang takes her to the hospital and they're all worried and Xander's carrying her and he's like, we help. She might be concussed. She's passed out. Something happened. Mm-hmm. And that they put her on a stretcher and then Giles and her mom show up and everyone's all worried and the nurse tells all of the gang that they can't come in. But when Buffy's mom shows up, she's like, all right, well, she has to stay in the hospital for a few days. And Buffy tries to escape.
The mom was really pissing me off when she first shows up. She's like, is she okay? And she's like, well, the doctor's like, well, we stabilized her. She's like, is she okay? And she's like, she's okay. And she's like, phew. I'm like, let the doctor tell you what's wrong with her. You guys brought her in and you don't even know if it's just the flu.
Yeah.
Like the doctor they never let the doctor explain what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating.
So yeah, then Buffy's being pushed around on her gurney. She wakes up and she's like, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. We gotta kill the vampires. There's vampires out in the world. And then Giles is like, oh, this fever is really making her crazy, huh?
Yes, Buffy, we'll kill those vampires.
Don't worry about the vampires. Yeah. Oh, teenagers, huh?
They explain this later, but I was also wondering why, when Buffy's mom showed up and Giles is there, why she's not like, dude, why are you here?
Right?
But they kind of explain it later enough, but yeah.
Do they drug Buffy at this point? Do they crank her?
This is all the most cliched hospital stuff you get. Like she's going crazy. Some doctor saying her pupils dilated and stat under no, and like he's talking to nobody. because he's like, there's no other people there yet. And then she's going crazy. So they're like, we got to put her down. She's a sick flu girl. Like,
yeah,
and there's like 6 doctors holding her down.
Yeah, but they trank her.
Yeah.
Then they take her into a room, and then the mom explains, like, yeah, Buffy's always hated hospitals because she was with her cousin when the cousin died at the hospital, and she's been freaked out by hospitals ever since. And Buffy watched this cousin die.
Yeah, I get why they did this, but it's not needed. Yeah. I mean, I get it in the story element of everything, but when we get to it, I'll bring up something I think they set up earlier that they could have done. But yeah.
And then something very, very interesting happens here, Vance, that has to do with a prediction you made a long time ago.
Hey man, I just see people the same age in the show full of teens. And they're both single, and I just start shipping away.
Yeah. So Buffy's mom and Giles have a very touching moment where she's like, I'm so sorry I heard about what happened to your girlfriend, Miss Calendar. That sucks that she's dead, but, you know, guess that means you're... No. But
well,
Giles...
I got an empty house now that Buffy's in the hospital. And could use a strong, strapping English lad.
But yeah, she's saying sorry for Jenny Calendar's death, and Giles is all like, oh, yes, thank you, appreciate that.
He's like, I almost forgot about that till you reminded me.
Yeah. And it's like a very long moment. Like, I thought it was going to end a lot sooner than it did. Yeah. And it just kept going. I felt I was like, all right, we get it. You're going to fall in love eventually.
Yeah. I mean, you have to do it just because the drama that it would put between Buffy and Giles.
Oh my God, yeah. Buffy walking in on Giles and her mom smooching.
You saw what happened when she did it with Robot Ted.
I know. Yeah. Cannot wait until the Watcher is
and then
doing a little more than watching.
And then Buffy's dad shows up.
Oh. Yeah. And then Ted comes back.
And then Angel's sitting there.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's a weird moment that was going on. And then they cut back to like Buffy and the gang is like looking through the window, and Cordelia is basically like, yeah, I mean, while Buffy's here and she's passed out, she might as well get that thing on her face fixed. And they're like, what? She's like, well, I got plastic surgery here or something. And
she was saying it was bad. I thought she said they did a bad job with plastic surgery here. And then she was like, and then Willow's like, oh, she's not getting plastic surgery. And then she's like, she should get that thing on her face fixed.
Yeah.
And then she says, am I the only one that notices that thing on her face?
Yeah.
What thing on her face are they talking about? I'm confused.
I don't know. I wish that they would have elaborated, but I kind of like that it's vague because everyone's looking at Cordelia like, what are you talking about?
I mean, the next scene when they cut to Buffy on the bed, I'm looking like hard. I'm like, is that what's causing this? Does she have like some alien sucker that's like making her like sick? I was like, what is she talking about?
I knew exactly. It was just a Cordelia being an a-hole thing.
This is a Cordelia episode, too.
Oh, yeah, it is. So then everybody goes away, and Buffy has some kind of crazy fever dream where there's a little boy standing at her door, and he walks away all creepy-like, and you're like, oh, kids are creepy. And then a creepy guy with a little bowler cap walks by with a huge underbite. And he's even creepier looking. And he walks by, he's following the boy. And then I don't know exactly where this goes. Because then Buffy gets up and then she becomes little girl Buffy, I think.
Yeah, which I did not realize that was little girl Buffy, just the casting alone.
Yeah, I mean, the little girl has brown hair and Buffy has blonde hair.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's like blonde now and it was brown. But I'm like, the girl, like, it's weird cat. I don't know. I don't get the casting there. It's not you don't see that little girl and go like, okay, that's Buffy.
See, this is where I was confused. I didn't know if it was a flashback because they were talking about her cousin. I was like, this could be Buffy. Yeah. I didn't know if Buffy, like, traveled through time and was inhabiting the body of someone else.
You're talking about that edit when she gets out of bed after being hallucinating in bed, it seems.
Yeah.
They do kind of weird editing tricks sometimes on the show where I think it's more jarring than it's meant to be. The one thing I was thinking about, knowing how this episode ends now, when that kid's walking down the hallway, right? Mm-hmm. And that monster guy's chasing him, that's really happening.
Yes.
Yeah. That kid seems real casual about walking down a hallway with a giant monster behind him.
Yeah, that he can see.
Yeah, like in the dream, you're like, okay, that's creepy. This one, it's like, no.
No, I think that this has to be a dream because
it's not a dream because at the end.
Well, then the only evidence that I'm pointing at that it is a dream.
Which part of it are you saying is a dream?
Everything until Buffy actually wakes up and leaves her room. Because the reason why they say it's a dream is because as she's dreaming, you look at the clock and it's going from 2:26 to 2:27 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then when she actually wakes up, it's going from 2:26 to 2:27 again.
I definitely looked away when the clock ticked, and I was wondering, I was like, I know the clock timing means something. But that kid dies later. The monster is exactly what she saw. Mm-hmm. So she wasn't dreaming that part.
Yeah, I mean, I have no...
The part that's her walking down the hallway is like this weird flashback, walking through her own flashback kind of situation. Which is where I thought they were going to do more of. I thought it was going to be more of like her in the hallways and
I get where you're coming from, and I do agree it is pretty confusing.
Yeah. I mean, the clock. I didn't see the clock thing, so the clock thing validates your thing.
The clock thing is the only piece of evidence that I'm like, this is a dream. But everything you're saying also makes sense.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter. I prefer to think of it as a dream because it would explain why that kid is just like casually walking down the hospital hallway by himself.
Yeah. But then, so eventually Buffy does actually wake up. She leaves her room in the same way that she left to like go follow that kid. And she's walking down the hall and she's looking into rooms and there's a bunch of old people that are like on the edge of their beds and they look all disheveled and sick. And then she goes past this one room that's like glowing green. She looks into it and then just keeps walking, and then a creepy security guard pops out and he's like staring at Buffy like, oh, I gotta keep an eye on this lady. You know what I mean?
What a misdirect this guy is too.
Absolutely. This guy does nothing.
Yeah.
So she keeps going and then she goes to the children's ward. She overhears some doctors arguing about like medicine and like what treatments need to be administered. And that creepy kid from her dream that's actually real, his name is Ryan. He explains to Buffy that death is coming for them and he can see death or something like that.
Yeah. And there's one of the like worst little lines of exposition when she gets to that room where the two orderlies are wheeling out a kid in a body bag and they're like, oh, hate it when they die young or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you work at this hospital. This is your job. You two would not talk like this at all. And how many kids I feel like kids are dying every night at this place.
Yeah, they have to be because of what's happening.
Later a doctor dies.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's fine. We don't care.
Sunnydale, dude.
Yeah. Who are these kids? Like, what is this kid ward? Are they all like orphans? Like, there's no parents?
No. It's 2 a.m.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they have the flu.
That's true. It's a bad flu.
They do say
that the fever gets up to 107, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's high. It's bad. I feel like we can maintain flus. It could be bad, but it seems like they have all these kids in like the worst situation. Yeah. These kids seem like they were all orphaned and just dropped off here to die.
Yeah.
Like kid hospice.
Kinda. Yeah. So then we go outside to the waiting room and Angel shows up and Xander's there waiting for him. And I loved this scene.
Angel just strolls into a hospital carrying flowers. I was like, this is wild, man. This is wild.
So he shows up, Xander gets up in his face, and then Angel's threatening Xander, and he's like, I'm here to see Buffy. And Xander's like, I'm here to stop you. And Angel says something like, do you really think that you can stop me? There's nothing that you can do to stop me from, I could just mow through you, dude. And Xander's like, yeah, maybe you can get through me, but look over there. There's security and there's cops and there's orderlies. You think you can get through all of them without making a scene? And Angel's like, okay, all right. And then he says something like, ooh, you're Buffy's white knight, huh? You really are still in love with her, aren't you? And then he leans in close to Xander's ear and he goes, it must eat you up that I got to her first. And then Xander, he has a moment of like, man, that really stung. Mm-hmm. And then he pauses and he looks up at Angel and he goes, you're going to die and I'm going to be there. And I was like, damn, that was such a good like back and forth.
Xander does not back down. And that is, it's pretty impressive. Like, I got to say, it has to be military guy leftovers or something, because he does not back down from it. They should be terrified of Angel. They should never, if a guy like Angel was roaming around, you just clam up. You don't go anywhere. You don't go to a bronze. You don't go on dates. You don't hang out. Like, you got to be terrified. You have a serial killer basically chasing after you. Yeah.
And he's like a mega serial killer too. Yeah. Like, they've read about like how terrible of a person he is. But Xander's like, dude, you're going to die and I'm going to be there when it happens. And then Angel like punches the flowers into Xander's chest and he goes, tell Buffy I was here for her. And then he leaves. And I was like, that was such a great scene.
Right at this point in this show, it's hard to have a scene with Angel that's bad. And I know we ripped apart the opening scene.
Yeah, the opening was pretty rough.
But he's not bad in it.
Yeah. The decisions of everyone around.
Yeah. The plot armor is what was bad. Like, because they can't kill him. But like him showing up at the hospital, it was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we have another flashback of Buffy with her cousin, and then we see Buffy watching her cousin die, and then Buffy's doing better the next day, and the gang shows up, and everybody brought gifts. Xander brought up balloons, and Willow did all of her homework, and then Cordelia's like, was I supposed to bring something? I didn't know that everybody was going to get her gifts. And then Giles says, it's just common tradition amongst people.
He's like, it's traditional among people. And like, he just delivers it in such a cutting British way.
It was so funny. But then what happened next was even funnier to me. Because what Giles brought to Buffy was a brown paper bag of grapes. He just picks it up and he goes, grapes. It's like, what?
They're not real people. Grapes are favorite. Yeah.
I guess. But then Buffy tells everybody about the kids that are seeing death. And then Cordelia is like, it's like, maybe the only reason you're seeing all this stuff is because you're making it up in your head because you hate hospitals because you saw your cousin die. Your mom told us that you watched your cousin die at a hospital, and that's why you're probably making all this up.
Giles is like, have you ever heard of tact? And she's like, I don't like tact. That's just not telling the truth. And I'm like, all right, we need someone like Cordelia here.
Yeah.
And this is at this point they have taken a walk because the nurse had come in or something, and they put Buffy in the wheelchair with the blanket all the way up to her neck.
She's got the FDR blanket.
Yeah, she's in Spike mode.
Yeah.
I wish Spike was rolling down the street and just waved at her or something.
He just like saw her, like they do that Spider-Man point.
Yeah.
Real recognize real. Wheel recognize wheel. Oh
man. And that's the end of the podcast, everyone. It was a good run.
Yeah. So yeah, then Buffy's like, no, for real though, like these kids, there's something fishy going on here. I saw the doctors arguing, and the kids are talking about death, and I saw death in a weird dream. And then so everybody kind of like rolls their eyes and they're like, all right, we'll look into it.
Oh, we should like pause at the moment of what Cordelia was saying about like, are you sure what you saw was real? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, okay, this is interesting. They set this up because I know the show. Of course, this monster's real, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, they want to play with that idea, right? Is Buffy just manifesting this in her own head? And then they don't really.
Yeah, no.
There was ways to like play with it and be like, is she seeing something? Is this or not? And yeah.
I mean, they do mention it a couple more times, but then as soon as they mention it, it's immediately undercut with like, oh, no, it's real.
Yeah, like, they keep saying stuff to like throw you off the course, but what you're seeing doesn't do it. It's like the visuals aren't matching the dialogue for some reason. I
mean, honestly, in actual like horror movies, one of the tropes that I absolutely hate and I'm sick of at this point is like the wife being like, I saw a ghost. And the husband like, you're just dreaming. Just get some sleep, drink some more water, do some yoga. Like you'll be fine. And like nobody believes them. Mm-hmm. So I always enjoy when a horror movie flips that script and everybody believes them. And then the horror still keeps going. Yeah. Like I love when that shit happens.
But then it's like, if everyone believes you, then there's nothing. It's fine. Everyone believes you, right? But then they keep trying to make it so that people don't. This episode keeps trying to make it don't. That's the problem. They keep trying to go back to it. It's like, no, you've already passed that moment. They keep like trying to throw the trope in, you know?
So part of how they are going to investigate this thing is Xander and Cordelia are going into private records offices.
This hospital has less security than the military base.
Yeah. So they're just like walking around looking, and Xander's like, you go that way, I'll go this way. And then out of nowhere, Cordelia is like looking for some kind of files, and the security guard from earlier from the glowing green room shows up. And she's like, what are you doing here? And then we cut to Giles and Willow at the library, and they're doing their own research, and they have their doubts about what Buffy is seeing.
This is when Giles is like, I don't know, maybe Buffy is manifesting this. And then Willow's like, I don't know, it could be a monster. We are in a hellmouth. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm like,
good point.
I'm like, yeah, like stop doubting monsters when Buffy says there's a monster.
Yeah. So then we cut back to what's going on with Xander and Cordelia has swept this security guard off his feet. He is wooed, and she's like flirting so hard with him, like legitimately. She's like tugging on his belt, like his pant belt at one point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, God damn, dude, like this is it. And he's talking about like, you know, a lot of people think that security guards are just cop dropouts. And Chloe's like, no way. Security guards are so much hotter. And he's like, well, I was going to be a fireman. She's like, security guards are so much hotter than firemen. And she's like grabbing all up on him and like rubbing him. And Xander he's got the file. Yeah. He's got what's needed.
But
and
now he's
like,
just listening.
He's just listening because he needs to find an escape route. But Cordelia is just like reveling and flirting with this guy.
I think she's doing it for him. He just needs to run to the door, and he just won't leave. So
he tries to leave or something. He bumps into something and makes noise, and then the security guard turns around and he's like, "What was that?" And Cordelia's like, "It was nothing. Did I ever mention that you have a perfect nose?" And then he turns back around and he's like, "Do I now?"
It's like, of course, there's no one here. Just a hot girl in the records office.
Yeah. So then Cordelia brings up the little girl that died, and she's like, hey, dude, like, you know, it must suck that like all these little kids are dying here. And like I heard about this Dr. Becker guy, and he must be heartbroken about it. And then the security guard gets really weird, and he's like, Dr. Becker is a great man, and he is trying to protect those kids, and sometimes the kids just die. It's not his fault, or it's something like that.
He just says he's a great man. He knows what others don't. And she's like, what's that? He's like, kids die.
Yeah.
And it's like real dark.
He like turns Manchurian Candidate in this. Like it's like something when somebody mentions Dr. Becker, he goes into this speech of like, Dr. Becker is a great man, because his whole attitude completely shifts.
Well, and before this is set up. We forgot to mention this with the Willow Giles thing. Giles is like, I don't know. How are we going to find this? Well, she said the kid saw it. And Giles is like, well, which is not factual at all, is that kids can sometimes see the true forms of adults. You know, like, so they're trying to play the idea that like, oh, it's not a monster. It's an adult and the kid can see the evilness inside of it. And I'm like, yes, that's why kids get into ice cream vans with pedophiles, because they can see the monster and they're like, I still want the ice cream. Like they just throw out this statement just for like no reason. Like, kids can see the monsters inside of adults. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's also, we forgot to mention that the demon is only being seen by the children.
Yes. Yeah. But get Giles with his scientific thought.
Yeah. Anyway, so then Xander eventually escapes. He's got the file on the girl, and then Cordelia leaves. And then Xander is giving her the file, and he's like, here, take this to Giles. I'll stay here and protect Buffy. Mm-hmm. And then Cordelia is like, why are you always trying to protect Buffy, dude? Like, it's sickening to me. Like, you are always trying to protect Buffy. Like, get over it. And then Xander's like, why? Are you jealous?
Yeah.
And then he's also like, you laid it on really thick with that security guard. And she's like, why? Are you jealous? And then he says something like, well, I got to watch Buffy's back. And then Cordelia goes, I bet you want to watch Buffy's back. I've been seeing you watch Buffy's back all the time. And then Xander's like, what is that supposed to mean? She's like, it's supposed to mean you look at her butt.
And we get reminded that Xander might be the dumbest person in Sunnydale.
Just when I'm like, Xander's great, then we have a scene like this where he's like, what are you talking about?
When she has to say it, and then he goes, oh. I'm like, you didn't get that?
And then she's like, well, you're going to have to watch my back right now. And then she walks away, and then he's looking at her butt, and he's like, ooh.
Yeah, he does a full head turn. I was like, I'm like, Xander, you're winning both ways. You got the hot mean girl, and you still got like your wish fulfillment in Buffy. And you got her ex-boyfriend vampire guy trying to kill you. Everything's working out great.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Wait, did we miss the scene about playing doctor, or is that later?
That's later.
Okay. He's got girls throwing themselves all over him.
Oh, that's later. So then Buffy's wandering the hall during the daytime now, and then she goes to the Ryan's room, and she's like, hey, buddy, how's it going? And he's drawing at this Crayola PlayStation, and it's like the typical horror trope of he's drawing the demon, and he's like, I don't know how you're going to protect me because only kids can see it. And she's like, well, I saw it in my dream, and I don't care. Like, everybody always thinks that adults don't understand and they can't see these things. Well, I saw it, and I'm going to protect you. I'm going to kick this demon's ass. And the kid's like, you can't kick death's ass, dude. And I was like, good point. Good point.
Yeah, this kid making a point. It's really interesting that in movies, kids draw the thing that's scaring them the most. Because I wouldn't want a picture of the thing. No, I want a picture monster.
It's like not only do they draw that all the time, like they draw it and they like hang it up all over the room. They have like 75 drawings of it.
Yeah.
It's like, why are you doing this, dude? So we go back to Willow and Giles, and they find out that this Dr. Backer, he has a rap sheet. He has a lot of like medical malpractice stuff going against him, and they're like, oh, maybe this guy is pretty evil. Maybe he is doing all this kind of crazy experimentation on the kids. So we should definitely check him out.
At this point, when you were watching it, did you think it was him or the security guard or an actual monster? What did you think?
At this point, well, the next scene where they just have Dr. Backer going into her fridge and looking at vials, I was like, this guy, this is not it.
Well, he's like the next scenes are like Willow and Giles, the doctor just doing research and being like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah. And then Cordelia, being pretty amazing, comes back with Krispy Kreme donuts.
Right? She comes back to keep Xander company.
Ooh, I mean, this episode's got some product placement in it too. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I thought, especially with the hint with Giles about like how kids can see the true nature of adults or whatever, I thought there was a possibility that Dr. Backer could have, like, the kids may have built this persona for him that he's this demon guy and he's not a friendly doctor and he's trying to kill him. I thought that could be a possibility.
I was thinking if it's him, he has to be working with the security guard somehow, and it has to be some extra twist there.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to find, like, killing kids to find a cure for something. I was like, if there's not a real monster, then it has to be like some other thing. And I want to say that Dr. Backer is played by the guy that plays Wilhelm in Seinfeld. He's George's boss when he's working for the Yankees. That's where I recognize that guy from.
Yeah. Well, I didn't recognize him at all, but...
Oh, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit Shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
So, you want to be a marketer. It's easy. You just have to score a ton of leads and figure out a way to turn them all into customers. Plus, manage a dozen channels, write 1 million blogs, and launch 100 campaigns all at once. When that's done, simply make your socials go viral and bring in record profits. No sweat. Okay, fine. It's a lot of sweat. But with HubSpot's AI-powered marketing tools, launching benchmark-breaking campaigns is easier than ever. Get started at HubSpot.com/marketers.
So then after Cordelia comes to keep Xander company, we go back to Dr. Backer, and he's walking all creepily and sneakily into the children's ward, and he's got a syringe, and he does which I've never seen ever in my entire life in an actual medical way, does the 2 flicks on the syringe and then the preemptive shoot out some of whatever he's injecting.
Yeah, they don't... I know the flick is... I think they do the flick because you got to get the air bubble out. I don't know, but I think the things are set up differently now where you don't have to do that.
Maybe,
but I understand.
Maybe I haven't paid attention when I'm at the doctor's, but I've never seen the flick.
Well, flicking it and pushing a little out actually makes sense, but it's not like when you get the COVID vaccine or anything, they don't have to do that. I think those things are already pre-set up for that. But I think that was a real thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take your word for it.
All the medical professionals, let us know. Hit us up.
Yeah, let us know. This is the dumbest.
Yeah.
Hey, will you let us know if the flick and the shootout
This is how I get all my information, just asking questions to our listeners.
Hey, listeners, what should I invest in for my retirement fund? Is it a Roth IRA or traditional?
Why exactly is the sky blue?
But long story short, Dr. Backer injects the kid with the needle. And then death.
Can I just say, Buffy watches him walk into the room, and she like turns around the corner and she looks at him, like leers at him, like, "Oh, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, guy."
Yeah, I know you're up to no good.
And then she just lets him do what he's doing.
Yeah, she lets him inject the kid. This doctor that she thinks is nefarious, and she's got suspicions of. She watches him inject the kid with some kind of foreign syringe that she doesn't know
in the middle of the night.
Yeah. But luckily Buffy doesn't have to interject because death does. So this demon starts just whipping this guy's ass, Dr. Backer. And it's so funny because he's doing like cross-eyed, like, oohs. And he's getting slashed up and getting thrown around the room. And, you know, like, he can only do so much because he's an old guy, and like we're actually seeing his face getting tumbled around. Yeah,
because this monster's invisible, so you just see him fighting against nothing.
Yeah. Well, he's invisible, but then there's a shadow of it on the wall.
And the kid is the kid screaming when this is happening?
The kid's screaming when this is happening.
Okay.
And then eventually...
Aren't there other kids in that room?
Yeah, but they don't wake up.
Okay.
Yeah, Ryan's the only one that wakes up.
Okay, got it.
So eventually the demon chucks Dr. Backer out of the room, and he's like writhing on the ground, and Buffy's watching it happen. And then the demon comes out and they knocks out Buffy somehow.
This was my moment, like how your moment from the beginning scene. Buffy gets like hit. So apparently this creature is invisible, but can't like walk through walls. It's not a ghost. It has to turn doorknobs. It has to open things. It has to like grab and drag you. So it takes Dr. Becker out in the hallway. He's all slashed up from the long claw hands.
Yeah.
Buffy tries to like go on top of him or do something. Gets pushed against the wall. Not hard enough to get knocked out. Just like, you're annoying. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Grabs the two arms of the doctor, put them together, and he's slowly dragging him away down the hallway. Like, it is just a guy being dragged at a slow pace. Yes. And we see Buffy just like sitting up watching this happen.
Yeah. Like, even if he is invisible, you know where he is.
You know he's holding the hands. Jump kicking. Yeah. You fought an invisible girl before.
Yeah. Spray some, what do you call it? Fire extinguisher.
Well, I don't think he's a ghost, so I don't know if that works. And I was wondering if they were going to do that later, but they don't really. But yeah, like, what? She doesn't do anything. She just.
Yeah, she just sits there and watches it.
Yeah.
So then the next day, the gang shows up, and then Buffy explains all about what she saw. And you know that I was confused. I'm going to harp on this a little bit.
This whole episode is us just harping on things.
This is the whole podcast. Yeah. So I was very confused when Giles brought grapes, and I thought that I misheard him.
Did he really bring grapes? Because I definitely was writing down the joke of him like shitting on Cordelia.
He holds up the bag and goes, grapes? And I was like, that can't be what he brought. But in this scene, there's a plate of grapes next to Buffy's. Foot. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's just weird now.
I'm sorry. If I'm Joyce, if I'm Buffy's mom, I'm like, yeah, why are you bringing my daughter grapes? Like, what's going on?
And they're like loose grapes. Like, they're not like in a bag that you get at a grocery store. Like, they're in a ratty brown paper bag.
Oh my God. She mentioned chocolate earlier, too.
Yeah. So anyway, Buffy has the boys drawing, too. And she's like, this is what the demon looks like. All right. And we all need to go out and find out what's the deal with this demon. And then at this moment, this is when Buffy's mom shows up. She's like, ooh, I feel like I'm interrupting a secret kill a vampire, kill a demon meeting.
Cordelia's really weird about it.
Yeah, and Cordelia's like, no, absolutely not. There's no secret meeting going on here at all. Don't worry about it. Anyway, yeah.
My favorite part of the scene is Buffy. Well, Buffy casually goes like, she shows Giles the drawing that the kid made, and he looks at it and he goes, did you do this? And she's like, no, the kid drew it.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks really low.
I forgot about that part.
He thinks really low of her, like.
For artistic abilities.
Her schooling and her artistic.
That's fucking hilarious. I completely forgot about that, but you're so right. He did do that.
She's like, no, dude.
But anyway, so Buffy's mom shows up, and she's like, and the mom is like, well, I talked to the doctors, and you can go home now. You're all clear to go. So let's get out of here. And then Buffy's like, actually, I want to stay. I'm feeling real bad now. I feel much worse. And the mom's like, all right, well, I'll go talk to the doctors.
Like, is that how that works?
I don't know.
Like, they're like, oh no, it's flu season. We can just have you stay in the room forever because you're fine. You're fine now. Wait, like, how do they explain the doctor being dead? Like, did they find a guy clawed up and?
Well, I think because it's not Buffy's doctor.
No,
so
but
they wouldn't need to tell him.
No, but like, how does the hospital, like, Buffy knew. She's like, oh, he's dead. But like, did the hospital, and the doctor who just worked with him is still in the hospital.
Yeah. And Buffy's doctor and Dr. Becker were like the ones that were arguing.
Yeah. And she's not like, seems like she has no like, hey, did someone just kill a doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Sunnydale.
They just found a guy clawed to death, if they found the body at all.
Yeah, he did have some slashes across his midsection, at least.
That's a murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Buffy's mom leaves, and then the gang is like, all right, we got to kill Death. Like, this is like a Nicolas Cage movie at this point. And then there's the weird bit that Vance brought up earlier. about I forget who brings it up.
They are all trying to split up because they were like, okay, we're all going to have to help you. I need to look around the hospital. I don't know medical stuff because Buffy's like, I don't know medical stuff because I draw at a 5th grade level. So Willow, I need you to stay. I need you to stay here. And she's like, oh no, I'm good. I played doctor with, me and Xander played doctor all the time. And Cordelia's like, what? And Xander's like, no, it's not like that. It was real.
It was like she actually had medical equipment, and she didn't realize how to actually play doctor.
She's still clueless. She's like, wait, how do you play doctor? And Buffy's like, I've never played doctor. And Cordelia's like, I've played too many games.
Well, I think that as soon as Buffy says, I never played it, and then Cordelia looks at her and she's like, really? And I was like, what? Where are you getting that from?
Cordelia's like, hey, I had it. That's how you... She's like, that was all of my middle school.
Yeah. So then we have a scene, and I love this scene, where Xander, Giles, and Cordelia are walking in the hall, and they're talking about how they split up. Mm-hmm. And Xander's like, well, I'll stay here and guard Buffy because Angel has come to the hospital before, and she needs somebody to, like, at least try to protect her. Yeah. So Giles, you can have Cordelia research with you. And then Giles goes, why do I need to hang out with Cordelia? And then he's like, why do I have to hang out with? And then he looks over at her, and then she's like, come on, Mr. Tact.
Yeah.
that was great.
I do love Giles getting really like just being pissed off and like dropping character in all pretense right there. Like, please, no.
Yeah.
Why do I get the bad? Like, why do I get the bad one?
And he's like, oh, you're right. It'll be nice to have somebody help me with my research, I guess. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
So Buffy then sneaks into Dr. Backer's office with Willow. And Willow is looking at all of the files and stuff that he has laid out on his desk. And she's like, actually, this guy wasn't a bad guy. He was trying to do an experimental thing that will actually help the kids by giving them more of a fever to burn out the fever. Something like that.
No, that's what they said. Okay. That sounded insane to me, but once the medical professionals write in, we'll find out more information.
Yes. Can you burn out the fever with more of a fever?
What is it? Feed a cold, starve a fever or something? Starve a fever, feed a cold? I don't know what
Listeners, we need your help.
Do not take medical advice from this podcast, from us.
Drop it in our Discord. We got a Discord now, by the way.
DM us, Discord us, email us, something. We need help before we pass on bad info.
Everyone listening, we are in our 30s. So anyway. So yeah, they find out Dr. Backer is actually not a bad guy. He just wanted to do some experimental medicine stuff.
On kids. That their parents, I guess, didn't sign off on. Sure. Why not?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
He's just a good guy.
So then we go to the library where Giles and Cordelia are researching demons. And then Giles has this big open book full of demons. And she's like, oh, what does that one do? And Giles is like, that one unhinges his jaws and eats humans whole. And she's like, oh, gross. Well, what does that one do? He's like, that one uses laser eyes and it zaps you into another dimension. She's like, oh my God, that's disgusting. What does this one do? And then Giles, all pissed off, looks at her with the meanest face. And he's like, this one consistently asks questions instead of helping me do research.
And without missing a beat, she goes, wow, there's a demon for everything. That's what made it.
Yeah. Like, I loved how pissed, because Giles is normally a stuttery mess, but when he gets angry, he just zings people.
Dude, when that Ripper comes out of him, gotta watch out.
So they're like, well, I can't find anything on this guy, and this is just a children's drawing. So, like, I don't even know if any of these demons would match what he looks like. Like, this isn't an accurate representation. And then Cordelia's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And then they close the book. And then the demon is on the cover of the book. And then they look at it and they're like, that's it. But that demon on the cover of the book looks nothing like what the kid drew.
Nothing like what the kid drew, but more like what we've seen.
Yes.
And then also, if he's on the cover of the book, is that book about him?
Yeah, is the book is it completely about him?
Whatever. Like, I love the ways they figure out how to, like, just quickly find the answers. Because normally, I can't even believe they were frustrated. Because normally they're like, all right, we got to figure out how to reverse this curse thing. He's like, all right, let's just look through all the books that are in no order. And written in ancient text. And they're like, oh, I think I found something.
Yeah.
Can't study anything, can't get more than a D, but they can read ancient text.
So then they call Buffy, and Cordelia is on the phone, and she's like, Buffy, you won't believe it. I found the demon. And his name is, I wrote it down, Darkindestad. And Cordelia's like, this is what the demon does. He kills kids, he sits on them, and he sucks the life out of them and it's in this like really gross way, and like it's so disgusting. And then Buffy starts to have like a flashback of like, oh shit, this is exactly what happened to my cousin when my cousin died. Well, and
this is the part that I was going to bring up. And actually, it's like Giles explains it to her what it does. And when he's like, because she's like, ooh, ooh, like Cordelia's like, ooh, ooh. That's what, like, because he puts the book down that shows like what it does. Yeah. And she's freaked out by it. So, and then they play that game where they don't say exactly what it does. And he's like, well, it sits on the kids and sucks the life out of them. And it must be awfully terrifying for the kids. Yeah. And I was like, that didn't jive with what Cordelia was reacting to, which later we find out what she probably saw in the book, you know.
Well, it also doesn't jive with what happened to Dr. Backer.
That's what I was saying. How because they say this thing kills you, sucks your life out of you, and then it just looks like you died of the flu or some sickness, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, okay. If he would have just like done that to Dr. Backer, you'd be like, oh, Dr. Backer wasn't wearing a mask and he just caught the flu from all the kids he's been making out with, you know? Yeah. Like, like I don't know, like, but then he's like slashed up and they're like, oh, I guess the wolf broke in through the window.
We did have a guy in here complaining about werewolves a couple weeks ago.
When she was saying the vampire thing, I just wanted one like nurse to look up and be like, I have seen a lot of neck bites.
Right? Well, I also called into question this too, because they made it seem like Darkindestad only kills kids.
Yes,
I thought he killed Dr. Backer.
I thought he only killed kids that way. You know what I mean? I feel like, he killed the doctor because he's like, hey, he's helping these kids, right? Okay. So I'm like, he's just going to get the person helping him out of the way. Maybe that security guard is helping that guy somehow because they kept setting up the security guard for some reason.
And I don't think that we see the security guard again in this episode.
We do see him later, when Willow has her freak out.
Oh, right.
But yeah, and that's like such a minor thing for him. So, but also in this scene, so this leads to the flashback that this triggers the flashback because he's like, oh, they pinned him down to the ground, or they pins him down, and it must be very terrifying for the kids. And then we get this flashback of her in a fake hospital room. Like it doesn't look like a hospital room at all. And the kid is...
It honestly looks like a massage room.
I don't know. And like I guess her cousin Cecilia is on the bed and she just has her hands up and she's like, screaming loud. And Buffy's like, I don't know how to help you. And I was like, I get it, but I don't think we need more reason for Buffy to want to stop something from killing kids.
Yeah.
And also I thought she was, when I heard that, I didn't think she was going to think about her cousin. I thought she was going to think about the opening of this episode when Angel had her pinned down. Because when he had her pinned down, it was like this moment of like, you're helpless and you can't do anything. And I thought she was internalizing that and being like, those kids must feel as helpless as I felt when I was sick and being pinned down by Angel. And I was like, yes, that's good. Not, when I was 8, I saw something that was traumatizing, but I've seen 20 times more traumatizing stuff since.
Yeah. Yeah. And have had traumatizing things happen to, like, she died She was killed.
She saved a kid that had a coma that was in a hospital that was being tormented by a guy monster.
Oh, right. Yeah, the kid with the giant bees.
Yeah, the hornets and the baseball molester dude. So I'm like, yeah, we've had, like, she protected that kid. She didn't have to have a flashback about her cousin. But yeah, that I just felt like it would have been a nice tie-in if they tied it into that opening scene with her being pinned down by Angel. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know
hindsight, though. It's all hindsight.
Yeah, I don't know how they deduce this, but Buffy figures out that it's not that kids can see the demon. It's that people with this fever can see the demon.
Well, Buffy also goes like, I don't know if I saw it or not. I was pretty doped up. I'm like, everyone's telling you this thing is real.
Yeah.
And she's like convincing herself that it's not. She's like, I was doped up. Maybe, I don't know what I saw really. I'm like, what are you doing?
You saw a demon. That's what you saw.
You saw him, the doctor's dead. You saw him dragged out.
That's true. Like, doctor's still dead.
Yeah, like, what are you... Why are you still playing this game of like, is it real or not?
Yeah, so she goes to Dr. Backer's office with Willow in order to give herself the fever that he's been injecting with the kids with. And
there's a scene earlier where the doctor comes in, and there's like earlier when Buffy is with the kids, and she's like, the doctor comes, she's like, doctor, she's like, oh, your fever's kind of gone and your bruise is gone. And she's like, you're healing fast. And she's like, do I have the same sickness that these kids have? And she's about to say something when like the mom and the kids don't show up. And I'm like, let the doctor say what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
And I thought they were going to like take Buffy's blood and help the kids. I thought that was going to happen. I don't know. If she might have super blood. I don't know how Slayers work.
Me neither. But it appears to be working pretty well because she heals miraculously.
Apparently we'll find out in season 5 where Slayers come from.
Oh. Okay.
I think...
Spoiler alert.
I mean, very like eventually we'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that that's what was going to happen.
I mean, I figured we'd learn more about the lore.
We'll learn more.
Yeah.
So Buffy's like, all right, I'm going to take this vial and just like chug it. And Willow's like, what are you doing? You can't just do that, dude. That'll kill you. And she's like, let me dilute it. And then she pours it in with some water. And then Buffy just takes it like a shot, like not like an injection shot, like we're at Senior Frogs and I'm taking it to the face.
And yeah, the medical professionals are going to be really busy on this message that we're going to get, because I don't think this is how this works at all.
No, because she immediately gets sick too.
And you can't just like open it up and just like slosh it around. Like it just is a lot of things. But it's fine. It's a TV show. But it's so wacky.
Yeah. So then she and Willow go to the children's ward and they're all gone. And then we see that they're making an escape through an underground tunnel.
Where's this hospital?
No clue. And Buffy, as she's getting sicker, she can see death now. She can see Darkindestad. And he sees her looking at him and he like gives her a tip of the cap, and then he just goes to a door that says basement access.
It's like right next, it's in the room that the kids are in.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. It's like, wild, dude.
That was the most insane thing that I saw in this episode.
Yeah. And then Buffy's like, I can see him now. I need to go to the basement.
Can she not open that door?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the door is locked. Did Darkindestad lock the door?
Like, just go in the room and follow him to the basement.
That's what I thought she was going to do, but they can't open the door, I think.
I don't even know if they tried.
Well, Buffy's like, we got to find another way, even though I just saw a way.
Yeah.
So they start...
Buffy, she's too weak to kick down a door. Maybe.
Yeah. But then this is when the nurse shows up and she's like, Buffy, what are you doing? You got to go back to bed. And Buffy's like, no. I need to go to the basement. And then the nurse is like, well, you need to go back. And she starts dragging Buffy. And then Buffy like shoves her off of her, and her and Willow start running. Then the nurse goes to a phone and she's like, security, we gotta run her.
We got a sick flu, like, and a visitor, but after hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, she's going crazy. So Buffy and Willow are running, and then they run into the security, and Willow's like, oh my God, there's frogs all over me. There's all kinds of frogs. There's frogs. And then both the security guards start paying attention to her. Buffy sneaks away. And then the nurse shows up.
I think she's a doctor.
A doctor, whatever.
Don't belittle her profession.
I mean, I don't know.
She had the white coat on. She had the white coat.
That's true. The reason why I keep saying nurse is because she never gave any kind of information medically.
Well, she had it, but no one would let her talk.
Exactly. That's why I was
treated her like she was like a nobody. Like, just get out of here. We got this. We got the grapes. She's got a grape. She'll be fine.
See, I'm treating her like the rest of the show treated her.
Yeah, just dismissing.
Yeah, whatever. She's not a doctor. Yeah. She's a cosplayer.
Doctor, you can't inject these people with more fever late at night. Shut up. I know what I'm doing.
So Buffy sneaks away, and then the doctor, she shows up, and she's like, not this one, you idiots. The other one. The one that you just let get away. And then so Willow's like, oops, a daisy.
We get two things with this. One, it's been referenced that she doesn't like frogs because she had a tadpole thing before. I thought it was a really smart play by Willow to do that right there. And this is a episode wrap on the security guard.
Yep.
That was talking
the
about
security
kids
guard
dying. Yeah.
That came from a glowing green room. That Manchurian candidated Dr. Backer is a great man, and he knows that kids die.
Who watched Buffy walk down the hallway earlier. So he knows which one is the patient.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
The security guard thing made absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it's like not even a good enough mislead because it doesn't end up anywhere.
Yeah. So as Buffy escapes, she runs into Xander, and she's like, all right, we got to get to the basement because that's where the demon and all the kids are. And he's like, all right, let's go. So now we go to the kids, and they're hiding in the basement, and they found a dark corner, and they're like, we're safe now.
He'll never come down here.
He'll never come down where it's creepiest. This invisible demon that no one can see.
And Xander is just sitting on that bench. He has no idea where Buffy is. If he's supposed to be protecting her, he has no clue what's going on.
Yeah, I guess he's just at the entrance, but like Angel could bust through the window at any time.
It's a hospital. Hospital has multiple entrances.
Yeah. Maybe not in that one Starbucks Sunnydale hospital.
Well, they have that back entrance that they do the vampire blood drug dealer things.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. So they go into the basement. The demon catches up with that little kid really quick. Grabs him, picks him up over his head, and you start shaking him like he's Simba. Throws him across the room. And then Buffy and Xander get to the demon just as the demon's about to do his sick demon stuff where he's sitting on top of the kid, and then his eyes become little snake succubus things.
Like sucking tentacle things.
Yeah.
And they go on your forehead. And it's a pretty good like CGI / real effect that they did. Like a practical effect. Yeah, it was cool. I get it. It was weird looking.
I'll say this. It's cool the first time.
Yep.
It's cool the first time when you see it from the kid's point of view, and you're looking up at the demon and his eyes turn into those little tentacle things, and they start coming out. And then, he's about to suck the life out of the boy, and Buffy hits him with a pipe from behind. And she goes, "You make me sick."
Yeah, she gets all the action one-liners in this scene, in this like little end scene. Yeah,
yeah. And she just, it's just so weird to me that this invisible demon is thwarted by hitting him with a pipe. Like that, it's just like it's so not mystical or magical.
Like, you could accidentally bump into him in the hallway. Like he has he has a physical form. That's the thing that was really interesting. He's invisible, but he's literally there.
Yeah, and he's big too. He's got long arms and huge hands.
Yeah, he can't sneak around.
Yeah,
so, like a busy hospital, he's like, oh crap, they're pushing people down the hallway. Like he's like just flat against the wall or something.
Yeah. So then Buffy is wailing on this invisible thing, and they cut between like showing her beating him up and then showing her just like kicking the air and stuff. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's always good.
But while Buffy's doing that, Xander is like saving all the kids. He's like, come on, everybody, come with me.
Yeah.
And then Buffy gets thrown up against the pipe and she's on her back. And then the demon sits on her. And then we have the exact same CGI graphic with the eyes turning into the tentacles happen with Buffy. And instead of
it's dumb.
Unbelievable.
It's dumb.
She grabs the demon by the chin and just snaps its neck. And then he just is dead.
They might as well just that episode over. Like,
yeah.
Like it was the most anticlimactic ending.
I didn't know you could kill demons. Like I think of demons as like these immortal, like you really need to get like a anti-magic.
Remember
like,
you had to stab the one.
Stuff.
You had to stab the one in the heart.
Well, just like vampires, you need to stab in the heart. Like,
well, you had to cut out the heart of that demon from that ventriloquist one.
Yeah,
like there was some. This one was weird because we just saw him kill a grown man, right? He slashed at it and then dragged him away. Mm-hmm. He didn't just like get on top of him and do whatever he had to do, right?
Well, this also dispels your theory of that's how he kills kids.
Exactly. I thought, oh, he's just going to suck life out of kids. Adults, he's just going to like... I was like, when he was about to do that to Buffy, I'm like, why? I thought you liked kids. Like, you can eat adults, too?
Maybe he feeds on the fever?
No, he gives them the fever, so they... Like, no, like, it's like people die and they think it's because of the fever that he gives them.
I thought that it's like they get a fever and then... he sucks the life out of people that have the fever.
But he only kills kids because adults can get the flu.
Yeah, that's what...
So, like, it doesn't... That doesn't track. And I don't understand why he's not holding her arms down.
Yeah.
And I also don't get why he just kept winking at her the whole time. You saw her stalking you You saw her stalking you for days in the hospital. And you were like, oh, I'll kill the doctor who's testing out a random theory. But I'm not going to kill this girl who seems to be able to see me.
Yeah.
Like he should have.
He didn't realize that she was the Slayer, though.
Oh, he just thought it was some random person that could see him.
Yeah, because like ultimately, a regular teen, wouldn't have a chance against the demon.
Yeah,
I guess.
I guess he's having more fun with her. Like, yeah, you can't stop me, so whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But that next snap, I was like, wait, that's it?
Yeah, that's what I was like, dude, this is so lame. Like, you just killed a demon the way that you would kill a regular person.
Even the praying mantis person, they had to like behead and delimb.
Yeah.
Like it just has a neck that can be snapped.
Yeah. like there's nothing that separates this invisible guy from a regular creep person.
So if you went to a hospital, a kid started screaming because it was on top of him, and you went over to be like, hey, what's wrong with you? You would bump into him.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, that's what I was saying about...
The first thing you do when someone has a fever and you go to check them, you touch their forehead, right?
Yeah.
So you go to touch the forehead and those, like, weird tentacles would be on it. And you'd be like, what is happening?
Well, that's what I was saying about, like, when it was dragging Dr. Backer. Like, she could just go and kick it. Yeah. Like, even if she can't see it.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm saying we could have done the whole fire extinguisher smoke thing again.
But I don't know if the fire extinguisher would let you still see it, because it seems like it's a physical mass, but I don't know if the fire... I don't know.
All I'm saying is the way that this demon gets its comeuppance is mad lame.
Yeah.
the eyes thing was cool at first, and then they replayed the exact same thing. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You couldn't get a different angle or anything?
You got that effect. You're going to use it again.
I guess so.
And then Xander comes over and he's like, is it dead? I mean, I heard a snap. And she's like, yeah, I'm starting to feel better. And
she goes, that was, yeah, you heard a snap. That was its neck.
Yes. I was like, oh, it has a neck. Cool.
Right? Because as soon as she snapped the neck, I was like, that can't be it. And then she's like, I snapped its neck. I was like, I guess that's it.
So do you guys just leave that thing in the basement? Like, are people tripping over that forever?
I guess so. Always confused about the invisible tripping spot of the basement.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of Darkindastad. So then Buffy's recovering at home with her mom, and Willow and Xander are also there, and they're being really demanding of the mom. They're asking for all kinds of snacks, and the mom is just like, wow, you guys are real assholes.
Well, Buffy has a favorite drink, and if the listener wants to try this, it's 2 parts orange juice, 1 part grapefruit juice. Have at it. But it's also just there because she's just being being a sick kid, and you got your parents waiting on you hand and foot, and it's great.
Yeah. And then Xander and Willow are like piggybacking off of that. Xander has like, you also ran out of cheesy curls. And the mom's like, oh, that was the last bag. He's like, no, it wasn't. I know that there's one behind there. Yeah. Behind the sodas. Can you bring that one up? And the mom's like, okay. And he's like, why is your mom trying to hide the cheesy curls, huh?
Yeah. And he's drinking a Surge, which I haven't seen in forever.
Oh, yeah. Surge is back.
Is it? You're the soda soft drink expert. You're the
Surge,
Baja Blast.
Oh God, Vance. I just found out that there's a Mountain Dew energy drink now.
Oh God.
I knew that there was one called Kickstart, but now they have a new one with 5 different flavors. They also are coming out with a new flavor of Mountain Dew specifically for Buffalo Wild Wings. It's like blackberry flavor. I'm so excited. I gotta go to B-Dubs. Let's go to B-Dubs, Vance.
Sure.
But yeah.
For some soda.
Yeah, sure. So then Buffy's mom comes back. She's like, oh, Buffy, actually, you got a letter. And Buffy's like, oh, it's from Ryan, the kid from the hospital. She opens the letter, and it's a drawing. All it is a drawing of Buffy standing above the demon who's bleeding from the neck. And the mom's like, ooh, that's nice. And that's the end of the episode.
So many things with that last part. And this is still minor nitpicks, but still I have to be one, that kid was not there to see what happened.
No, he wasn't.
So did Buffy tell that kid that while she was giving the address to mail this letter? Right? She's like, hey, I killed the thing. I broke its neck. It's all messed up. And here's my address so you can send me a letter.
That's true.
Because the hospital can't give the address away.
Yeah, I just did HIPAA training for my new job today. Yeah, they can't do that.
No.
Wow. I didn't think about that. That's so weird.
And then the mom is just like, wait, when did you hang out with a little kid at the hospital? That's what I'd be thinking.
The mom doesn't care.
The mom is such an oblivious kid. She has the thankless role of just being like, you guys are up to something, but I gotta go to the gallery.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay, can you get me some more cheese poofs? Yeah, sure. That's it. That is a wrap for Killed by Death. You have anything else, Vance? What was the thing that you wanted to? What were some of the surprise?
Well, I was gonna do.
Segments?
I was thinking we could do some likability rankings, impromptu, or we could do casting what-ifs.
Oh, casting what-ifs. Do you have some information about casting what-ifs? I have some information. Let's do casting information. Let's do some casting what-ifs.
All right, if you stuck with us this far, then you can get this. And people may have already known this, but
I'm sure that the people that listen to this podcast definitely already knew this. But I don't know anything.
Who do you think was someone that might have played Xander?
Was it like an actual person that
this is a celebrity now.
Okay.
Yeah. This person turned down the role, actually.
They turned down the role. Okay, so it's somebody that would had to be like in their 20s in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Freddie Prinze Jr. Because they're Scooby gangs. I don't know, Matthew Lillard.
Also Scooby.
I'm just gonna keep mentioning Scooby. That's all I can think about now.
It's Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
I could see him being Xander.
He didn't want to play a high schooler.
Really?
Yeah.
So he went on to do Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
Was that after this or before or during?
I feel like it was probably concurrently. It was probably during. He probably went and did that instead of this.
That's an underrated show. I mean, I haven't seen it in forever, but I enjoyed that show.
My mom hated him and the way that she described him because she doesn't know. You know how old people don't know anybody's actual names and they just describe them?
Yeah.
She called him the guy with the crooked eyes.
Okay.
Because he apparently has crooked eyes. Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place went from 1998 to 2001. So this would have been before. It would have been before.
No.
But it's around the same time.
No, I mean, it's the same time as Buffy. Yeah. Because Buffy's 97, right?
The second season's 1998. So last season was 97. So
yeah, he turned this down and he did that.
Yeah.
And that was a solid. I don't know how many people watched that show, but it was
it was on for 3 seasons.
Yeah. He's done well for himself.
Yeah, I could see him doing well for this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like Xander is a very Ryan Reynolds-y character.
Yeah. So for Buffy, I'm not going to have you guess, people.
No, let me guess. Yeah.
Okay, there's 2 people I have that were almost cast as Buffy. And this one was in a movie with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Oh, shit. Reese Witherspoon?
No.
Because she was in Cruel Intentions with...
Don't think blonde. That'll be my hint.
Oh, I'll never get this then. Who is it?
That was enough to throw you off. You're like, oh, never mind.
All right, Linda Cardellini.
No. I have here, Katie Holmes was one.
What movie was she in with Buffy?
No,
was she in Cruel Intentions?
And then Selma Blair.
Oh.
Selma Blair's in Cruel Intentions, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
I can't see either of them. I could see Ryan Reynolds, but I can't see either of them, really.
I could see Selma Blair in it, but I think it's a completely different vibe.
Yeah. I would think Selma Blair's more like a badass, like...
Yeah.
She's angry.
What's that Marvel show with the strong? We always talk about it when we can't tell Buffy's strength. That actress.
Oh, Jessica Jones?
Yeah. Like
Kristen Ritter.
I feel like Selma Blair has a little bit of that vibe to her.
Yeah.
And apparently Charisma Carpenter was I think she auditioned for the Buffy role and got swapped into her role, which I think she really kills this role that she has.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of like Batman Begins. Cillian Murphy auditioned to be Batman. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, we like you, so you're going to be Scarecrow.
Yeah, I worked on a movie with him. He's a really nice guy.
Cillian Murphy?
Yeah.
Everybody says I look like that guy.
You got you got the angles. You got the face angles. Yeah.
Yeah. Any more casting what-ifs?
That is all I got.
Those were good ones.
Yeah.
I could definitely see Ryan Reynolds doing that. Yeah. Like he would have, if you put him in there, he would kill it. And then he also is in vampire movies later. He's in Blade 3, right?
Yeah, he's in like some of the worst like X-Men's and Blades. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he got through. He did some really bad superhero movies because he also did the Green Lantern that was bad, and he eventually got Deadpool. So
yep. Where he gets to play exactly himself.
Yeah, stick with it, everyone. Stick with it. You never know what's going to happen.
Well, then he was in Free Guy. All right. So that is going to be a wrap for Killed by Death. Thanks for listening, everybody. If you want to follow us on Instagram, it's @BoysWatchingBuffy. We have a Discord now. I don't know how you find that.
There'll be a link in the show notes. It's Boys Watching Buffy on Discord.
There you go. And to answer all of our medical questions, email in boyswatchingbuffy@gmail.com. And stay tuned for our next episode, which is titled, I Only Have Eyes for You. What do you think that's about?
I kind of want to say they go back to Angel doing something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with the Angel, Drusilla, Spike love triangle again.
Oh, love triangle again. Okay.
I really just like diving into that because it's so aggressive.
It's aggressive and so mean.
God,
it's mean-spirited.
Angel is he's an asshole. Like he is such
a
good villain. He's such a good villain.
He really is. I can't wait because I have a suspicion that Spike is fully healed and he's just waiting for his right time to reveal and like jump up out of the wheelchair and be like, fuck you, buddy. I was playing all along.
I can't wait to see how Angel goes from where he is now to having a spinoff show. Because I know eventually he's going to get the cure of that curse. And it's just going to be like, you get out of town and never come back.
Yeah.
And then Charisma Carpenter, Cordelia was like, I'll go too. I don't know. Maybe
like Angel's like, I'm going to LA. And she's like, I just got accepted to UCLA. So let's hang out.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I'm super curious about that. I did have one other note about the episode we just watched.
Okay.
Why is the monster in Sunnydale?
The kid killing monster?
Yeah.
Hellmouth.
Yeah.
Damn, you can explain anything with Hellmouth.
No, I was like, go to a bigger... Well, here's the thing. It killed Buffy's cousin.
Yes.
In a different city.
That is true.
Because she didn't live in Sunnydale.
You're right.
So why leave a metropolitan area with more food and more kids to kill? But, like you said, Hellmouth.
I mean, that was like an argument that Willow brought up earlier in the episode too, because Giles is like, maybe Buffy is making up a bunch of stuff in her head because maybe Cordelia is right. And then Willow's like, yeah, I would be inclined to believe that, except that we live on the Hellmouth and all kinds of crazy shit happens all the time. And then Giles is like, you're right.
Yeah, I'm like, Giles, what are you talking about, man? You're the demon experts. They were like, oh, it was a werewolf. You were like, cool, believe you.
Yeah, cool. I can't wait to research werewolves. These are one of the classics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for my prediction, I Only Have Eyes for You. It's going to be... I mean, you could have named this episode, I Only Have Eyes for You.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when you said it.
Prediction from Joe Welke. I think it's going to be something... Some people go blind. People go blind. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
All right, so hopefully that comes true.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to find out next time when we talk about I Only Have Eyes for You. See ya.
Well, I was using the phrase, watch her back, as a euphemism for looking at her butt.
Tune into the Salsa Kings Network. Crack one open if you dare, creeps.